Good morning, all of you. We want to discuss two more parallelograms. So, different types of parallelogram we discussed: rhombus, rectangle, and one more is the parallelogram, rhombus, rectangle. That much we discussed. Next one is another parallelogram is square. Okay. So, square, all of you know, it is also a parallelogram, or otherwise we can describe square as a rectangle with four sides equal. Okay, it is a rectangle with four sides equal. So all the properties of a parallelogram holds in the case of square also. So all the sides are equal, and what are the properties of parallelogram? Opposite sides are equal. So in this case also opposite sides are equal. Opposite angles also will be equal, and diagonals bisect each other, and the length of the diagonal also will be equal in this case, just like rectangles. Rectangles diagonals we know. Both the diagonals of the rectangles are equal. Just like in the case of square also, the length of these rectangles also equal, and also the diagonals bisected the perpendicular. You say here these angles will be just like rhombus. These four angles will be 90 degree each. Okay. So all the properties of rectangle and parallelogram holds in the case of square. So different types of quadrilateral we discussed, and first one is trapezium. That is, if only one pair of parallel side, then we can call them trapezium. Next, parallelograms, and different types of parallelograms are there. Then one is rhombus, then rectangle, okay, square. Then these are the parallelogram. Next, one more quadrilateral is there with the name. What is the name of this quadrilateral? It is kite. Okay. Now in this case it is different as like parallelogram. It is not included in the set of parallelogram. We know for parallelogram opposite sides should be equal length. But in this case here the consecutive sides will be in equal length. If this is a kite, now these two sides will be, these are consecutive sides, their length will be equal, and these also another pairs of consecutive sides, these length also will be equal. So it is different from the properties of parallelogram. And also in this case also it have two diagonals. Okay, if it is the name of this kite is, if it is A, B, C, D, AC is one diagonal and BD is also another diagonal. And what will be in the case of, what will be the properties of diagonals in this case? Is it the diagonal BD bisects the other diagonal AC? That means, is the length, if it is the intersection point of these diagonals are O, is it the OA is equal to OC? That is not equal, but this OD will be equal to OB. These diagonals bisect. Okay. And also when we discuss about the angles, okay, these two angles will be equal. Angle B equal angle D, but angle A is not equal to angle C. It is a special type of quadrilateral. So only if two pairs of consecutive sides are equal in length, such quadrilaterals are called kite. And also these diagonals, only one diagonals bisect one another, because in this case AC, when we take this AC, it is this length OA and OC are not equal, but OD will be equal to OB. These diagonals bisect. And also the measure of angle D will be angle B. Angle A is not equal to angle C. These are the main properties of that kite. So that chapter finished. In this case we understand about that different types of quadrilaterals. What is quadrilateral? That we know. A polygon with four line segments are called quadrilateral, and we discussed about different quadrilaterals: trapezium, parallelograms, rhombus, rectangle, square, and kite also. Now here some exercise question. All of you take your textbook, page number 55. take your textbook. We can discuss some questions. Exercise 3.4, page number 55. So the question is this: state whether true or false. We want to state. First one is given: all rectangles are squares. Is it all rectangles are squares? No, that is false. But if it's reverse, will be okay. All squares will be included in the set of rectangles, because all the properties of squares will be hold in the case of rectangle. Now, so that will be wrong, false. Question B: all rhombuses are parallelogram. All rhombuses are parallelogram. For parallelogram, we need only opposite sides are equal. But rhombus is a special kind of parallelogram. So, it is true. Question C: all squares are rhombuses and also rectangles. All squares are rhombuses. Is it rhombus? What are the properties of rhombus? All sides will be equal and all angles will be equal and diagonals bisect each other at perpendicular. So all these properties of rhombus will be hold in the case of square, and also all parallelogram also. Square is a parallelogram also, so that statement will be true. All squares are rhombus and rectangles. Then question D: all squares are not parallelogram. Is it true? All squares are not parallelogram. Is it true or false? That is false, because all squares are parallelogram, but all parallelograms are not squares. Now question E: all kites are rhombuses. Is it true? All kites are rhombuses. That is false. All the rhombuses are kites. That also false. Kite and rhombuses are indifferent, because rhombuses opposite sides, all sides are equal, but in the case of kites it is not equal. Next question G: all parallelograms are trapezium. All parallelograms are trapezium. What are the conditions for trapezium? For trapezium, we need only one pair of parallel sides. But in the case of parallelogram, there are two pairs. That is, so it is true. All parallelograms are included in the set of trapezium. Last one: all squares are trapezium. All squares also will be included in the set of trapezium, because for trapezium only need one pair of parallel sides. Just like question number 2: identify all the quadrilaterals that have. Which is the quadrilateral with 4 sides of equal length? Which are the quadrilateral with 4 sides of equal length? One is square and second one is rhombus. Okay. Next, identify the quadrilaterals that have 4 right angles. Which quadrilaterals have 4 right angles? That we know. One is rectangle and the other one is square. Okay. Next, explain how a square is a quadrilateral. Then some more questions are there, so that we can discuss next class. And also we want to conduct a small test, online test, only including 5 or 6 questions. We will conduct one test for this chapter in this week itself. Okay, so one more class we need for completing, and otherwise you can do as homework. Very easy questions that you can do as homework. Anyway, we can discuss one more class, we can discuss this. If it is any doubts, that we can clear. After that, we want to start the next chapter, that is practical geometry. So that will be difficult through this online class, that we can take after reopening the school. Next, after that we can take the next chapter. Okay. So all of you study all the properties of all the quadrilaterals and complete these questions, exercise 3.4. Okay. Thank you.